Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hillcrest Home Series with our tennis edition. Welcome to another week. We will be talking today about grips, about spin, and some of the ideal times to be hitting certain shots. Last week we went through a little bit of a warm-up routine. We also did some at-home, you can practice some of your tennis strokes. And then we also discussed we showed you how to string a racket, how we string our rackets here at Hillcrest. So I'd encourage you to go back and check those videos out. A lot of good information on those. So today, what we'll be discussing first are the grips that we use in tennis, and then I will be showing you certain shots and certain spins that will be going along with those specific grips. Okay, so first and foremost, we'll discuss the continental grip. That is the most universal grip that we have in tennis. It across the board has been used for as long as I know. We typically, the continental grip has been used back when they used to use wood rackets, and we still use it today in certain shots. For our volleys, for overheads, and for our serves, and for the slice. So the best way to find the continental grip is to take the racket so that it's ends down, not flat, but taking the racket, and then you're going to shake hands with that racket, okay? And typically, I always like to say your knuckle, I'll show you, your pointer knuckle is on the ridge of the racket here, and then your thumb knuckle is going to be on this ridge. So you kind of create that V here, okay? And the key with the grip is not across the board. You're not wanting to death grip it. I would say in a range between 1 and 10. 10 being, you're holding the racket as strong as you can. I would give it like a 5. Okay, so you're just right in the middle, nothing to death grip about. Okay, so that continental grip here, okay, and typically you can usually see it. So if you turn to the side, okay, that racket face should be somewhat at an angle, so 45, okay, and on the backhand side, again, it's going to be nice and flat. And we really use this for the serve and the overhead, and then our volleys, okay, and then also on our slices. So if we're going to slice that ball, if you see that racket as it comes through, it really undercuts that ball, so the ball will have that backspin, so that slice, and if done properly, that ball will spin backwards, okay? If you're looking at that ball, so that ball will be spinning, rotating backwards this way, and so it will keep the ball, it's supposed to keep the ball low, and then it's also supposed to, if you give it enough, that ball, you can hit it as hard as you want, but if it's spinning at the right amount, at the right speed, then it will drop into the court, okay? Okay, so that's the continental grip, and we talked a little bit about slice. Okay, so let's talk about the Western forehand grip. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit tricky. I'll discuss a couple of different parts of this, okay? So what's going to happen is the grip that I use, okay, is the semi-Western forehand grip, okay? So that's basically, if the racket is flat, I'm just going to grab it here, okay? And so if you can see my hand, from this view and that angle. Okay. Okay. So this is the semi-western. This is the full western. So you're coming underneath it. So your racket is here. I would strongly recommend not using that unless you're a very advanced player. But anywhere between the western, which is here, okay, and then the semi-western. All right. So now this grip here is for the forehand side, okay, and this grip is going to give you some topspin, okay. As you can see, it's going to be very difficult to slice the ball, okay. It's really typically you're going to be either hitting flat, so square on the ball, or you're going to be hitting under the ball, so you're giving it that topspin. Because if you notice the angle of my racket head as I swing, especially if I'm coming low to high, as I make contact, it's going to square up, and then I'm going to come and finish across with my hand in front, and that's going to give it the top spin. So the top spin is the ball that's rotating forward, and the idea here is with this grip is you're giving it enough topspin that you can hit it and the ball is going to hit and it's going to drop. So the thing with the pros is they can hit it high and hard and that ball is going to drop because of the racket head speed. It's going to get the ball to drop down into that court. Okay. And so I can really hit it as hard as I want. And because I have enough topspin and racket head speed, that ball is going to drop down into the court. So when you're doing a clinic or if you're hitting and you're missing that ball long, it's really a good idea to try and get that topspin a little bit more. So you get that topspin, you know, if you're, you can just come and stand out here and practice, but that topspin, it's really coming from a side view. It's really coming from under that ball, so under the ball to the top of the ball. So you're ripping, you're making contact more on the bottom. So more on the bottom here. Do you see that? So you want to come from here to here, but with your racket head speed. So from a side view, okay, from a side view, you come up, you rip up on the back side of the ball. And you'll hear your strings go, it's kind of like a little sound. And if you hear that, that's the spin. That's the indicator that you're hitting that back side of the ball with that top spin, okay? Now, if you get too close to that continental grip, okay, if you get too close, then if you get too far over, now as you hit, your strings are open. So you really have to make sure that you're getting that hand to kind of come over. But this is the dangerous part, is if you come too soon, now your hand is going to roll over the top of the ball. And then the ball will go into the net because there's no lift and no spin. Okay? So really that semi-western to semi-western grip is really where you're wanting to be. When I played in college, I was using my I would say my semi-western, okay? But now that I'm not as much, I use more of a western grip. So I'm still able to get that. I'm still able to get that top spin, but it's not as far over because I don't need to hit the ball hard. I just need to be able to give it enough spin to drop the ball down into the court. So anywhere between that western and semi-western is a happy medium. And I think across the board for recreational to national level players, that's a solid grip for anyone to be using. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about the backhand. Now I have I have a one-handed backhand. So I typically slice my backhand, or if I'm going to hit my backhand topspin, okay, so if I'm going to hit my backhand topspin, I'm going to be using my semi-western grip, but I'm just flipping it over to the other side. So my knuckles are on the top, or I should say on the ridge here. Okay, and now I would say for those that are a two-handed backhand, I think a continental grip is just fine. Okay, and then that second hand is going to come over just as a support behind. Okay, so directly behind. Okay, and then that's going to give you, as long as you're coming up and under, or under and up on that back side of that ball, you're going to have enough top spin to give it. It's not going to be too flat or too open as you make contact. Okay, but really the key thing for the two-handed backhand, just remember your left hand is your dominant hand, and it's going to direct where the ball is going to go. So if your left hand is too dominant and it's pulling this way, you're going to be too early and it's going to go into the net. Okay, so really think about that right hand is really there just for support and for that shoulder turn. And then that left hand is, as you make contact, you really have to push hard with that left hand and hold it as you finish through. All right, so now the one-handed backhand is slightly different, although the left hand does serve an important role in the shoulder turn. So when you take that racket back, whether you're doing a slice or you're doing a top spin, okay, that left hand needs to draw that racket back, because if you notice, I get my shoulder turn, so it's really got to be that pull. And now as you hit, you're going to step, and then now right as your hands come to about your hip, that's when they're going to let go. So right about hip or shoulder, somewhere in here, okay, that's where that left hand, and then that left hand has to go back. If it comes forward too much, if you notice, my shoulders rotate forward too soon, okay? So really keeping that left arm back. It's kind of like squeezing your shoulder blades together. So it's back this way, and it really keeps that shoulder turn, and it keeps your contact point in the right spot rather than being too far forward. Okay, so those are some important key tips to those ground strokes, and really want to emphasize that, you know, that shoulder turn, whether you're hitting a slice on the forehand or backhand, or topspin on the forehand or backhand, really that shoulder turn is really going to help your racket to come underneath the ball for the topspin, and then also keep your shoulders level for that slice. Okay, or for your volley, you know, you're keeping that level upper body, and then your work comes from your shoulder turn, and then also your legs. Okay, so those are some key tips. Now we're going to talk about, so we talked a little bit about spin, we talked about top spin, we talked about the underspin or slice. We'll briefly touch on a flat ball. Really, a flat ball, if you think about it, all three spins serve a purpose. Okay, so if I were coaching somebody for a match situation, I would say you're probably going to be hitting 75% of your shots are most likely going to be topspin, and then the remainder will be either slice or flat. But even then, I think, you know, you're probably like 2% of a flat ball. It's not going to happen very often, but really a flat ball is more of a line drive. And when you hit that flat ball, you really have to hit it. You can't You can't baby it, because if you don't hit it just right, the ball is either going to sail or you're going to pop it up just enough where it's right in their strike zone. So really you're trying to focus on hitting it in what we call the bread box. So your bread basket, so anywhere between here and waist height, shoulder height. So your bread box, and you just have to hit it hard. And it's really just a line drive. And as you make contact, you're going to be square onto the ball. There's no brush, there's no underspin. It's just square onto that ball, and you just drive through. And the key is not to come over the top too soon or not to lift it too much. Drive through that ball. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the lob. Okay, so a couple of different types of lobs, right? So we have the offensive, we have the defensive, and we have the neutralizers. Okay, so a good lob is a lob that you make them hit, and you make them hit to their backhand side, right? So if I'm playing a person here, I would always play the forehand side, and every once in a while, when I would play doubles, every once in a while I would say, hey partner, I'm gonna lob over that person at the net's head. Okay, and what I would do is, specifically if it's on my backhand side, I would take my continental grip, and I'd have my slice. So I was going to slice it, and I would just lob it right over their head. And you have such a big target, you're aiming for, right about here, and you're aiming for their backhand side, so it's a harder shot for them to hit here. Okay, it's not an offensive overhead for them, and your target is like 3 feet inside that baseline, and about 3 feet in from the singles line. Okay, and you just loft it, and the whole thing is you're trying to neutralize the net person, and you're trying to put you and your team on the offense. So it's really a great idea, especially if you can sense that the person at the net is going to be moving. That's a really good opportunity for you to pop it over their head, and then you both rush the net and you both come in, because more than likely the other team, if they do get it, it will be a short lob, and then you and your team are up at the net ready to put that ball away. But really the key here is remembering, what is your role as a doubles partner. Your role is never to finish off the point. Your role is to set your partner up for success, set them up for the put away volley or the put away overhead. You are not the finisher. Maybe you are when you're at the net and your partner's setting you up, but just remember, it's a balance, and you have to balance each other out. So if you hit a put away shot, that is fantastic. But really your mindset is, what shots can I hit to set up my partner? Your job is not to finish the point. So a lob like that, an offensive neutralizing lob, is a great way to do that. Now the defensive lob. Typically, if you're in the defensive position, a lot of people really feel rushed, but the idea here is to get as much height on the ball as you possibly can. So it's height over anything else. Okay, so if I were in a defensive position, what I would do is I would just hit it as high as I can to the middle of the court. And you're looking for height, and just hit it to the middle of the court. You're trying to neutralize everything to get yourself back in position. Make sure that you have that continental grip, especially if you're on the run. That's the grip to have, because now you can slice, you can lob, you can do all sorts of things. But if you have your forehand grip or your backhand grip, now you're in trouble, and you're only stuck. You're limited to that one shot. So think about that as you're on the run, having that continental grip, so that you have a little bit of variety and a little bit of give. So really thinking about for the defensive lob, think middle of the court and as high as you can, and I guarantee you that you'll neutralize the point a lot more effectively if you can have that mindset rather than the bailout mindset of like, I just have to get it over. No, have a purpose for it and get the ball in the court. Make them play one more ball, and give them the opportunity to miss. To me, that's the right mindset to have, is put the ball in the court, give them the opportunity to miss. Okay, so one last little tip that I'll give you. I think a lot of times we get stuck and we panic when somebody hits the ball directly hard right at us. We don't know what to do with it. Just remember, if the ball is hit hard at you, hit it back to where it came from. Don't try and change direction of the ball. Hit it back to where it came from. If it's high and you can hurt your opponent, that's when you can change direction. Okay? So think about a return, okay? If the ball lands short in the service box, okay, you can rip it right at that net person, okay, right at their bread box, right there, or you can hit a cross court angle and make your opponent move. But if they hit, so that's for a second serve. If they hit a hard first serve, hit the ball cross court. That's a strong, high percentage shot. Don't chicken out and go down the line. That's not the right mindset. Hit the ball cross court, set your partner up for success. Okay? And more than likely, about 75% of the time, your opponents are going to miss after the first or second shot. So give them that opportunity to miss. Give them that opportunity to make the mistake. All right? So really, these grips and these spins are tools that we can use to really help us effectively set up a point. You know, if you're just one-dimensional player and you can only hit the ball hard from the baseline, now you've really limited yourself and you've kind of pigeonholed yourself into one style of play. But if you can really think about and branch out and using some of these grips and spins, now you've created this whole bag of tricks, so to speak. And so you have more variety, more dimension to your game, and that can really help your results, and it just helps you become a better tennis player overall. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we are here to help you play your best tennis. Please reach out if you have any questions. We are here to help you, and I hope to see you at the courts. Things are picking up. Make sure you reserve those courts online. Or if you have trouble, please give me a call in the tennis office, or you can email us at tennis@hillcrest.cc. Hillcrest strong. We hope to see you soon. Bye.